Welcome in, folks, for a brand new episode of What's Bruin. It has been a couple weeks. It is Chris here and Gayle over there. Gayle, it's been 2 weeks, as I said. How are you? You excited for this show? Apparently, we already have Dom getting ready to sleep. Hopefully, we can wake him up.
Yeah, I'm ready. I mean, no offense, I was happy to miss last week's show because I was at the Fleet. So it felt good to be back there. And they had not played at the Songus since November.
Yeah, they have like 2 home rinks, which is weird. But
they don't. The Songus is their home rink. Playing at Aganis, they're just trying to build the brand, and then they're playing at TD Garden once. So they technically don't have 2 home rinks. Their home rink is the Songus.
Okay, well, it feels like they have 2 home rinks because they split their games the way they do, which, don't get me wrong, it makes perfect sense to do. It's just, it like you said, it keeps you away from one rink for too long sometimes.
No, they've been on the road. They've only had 4 games. They've only had 3 games at Aganis. So it's not like out of their 13 games, they've been out of Massachusetts for majority of them.
Oh, well, I mean, either way, it seems like such a long time between games, and then
they have this whole week off. Then they play Wednesday, and then they're on the Olympic break. I don't know who does the schedule, but I say it numerous times. They hate that.
And we complain about the NHL schedule. At least we have games to watch.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. I get it. There's 8 teams in the entire league. There's only so much you can have them play, but that's still one of those things. So, as mentioned, though, it's been a couple weeks since we've been on the air, and a lot has happened in that 2 weeks. We've got some extensions. We've got a trade that almost happened. We've got a 6-game win streak that came to a screeching halt yesterday. Do you want to start and work our way sequentially, or do you want to start with the most recent and work our way back? What do you think?
Whatever you feel like talking about.
Oh, boy. Well, how did you feel about the 6-game win streak? Let's just touch on that now that that's over. Obviously, that happened during the entire week that we were between shows, and we never got a chance to talk about it.
I mean, I thought they played. It's funny because someone said to me on Blue Sky last night, when they're high, they're really high. And when they're low, man, they get their asses kicked.
So bad.
Like, last night's game was so disgusting. Like, there was nothing enjoyable. Even when Geeky finally got on the score sheet, there was nothing to be excited about that goal. The game had already been decided.
You could see it in Geeky. Like, he was so ready to celebrate that he finally scored, and then he went, oh, yeah. Not the time.
Right.
So... But you definitely needed him to get off the scoreboard. I think in a game like what we saw last night against Dallas, it's good to see that he's the one who got the goal because he needed it so bad. The team needed him to get one so bad. And just last night, you needed something to be able to hold your head up coming out of that game and go, yeah, we played like shit, but... And that but we got Morgan Geeky a goal. Right. We got him back off that, whatever it was, 13 games without a goal. And, he finally found the back of the net. So, but we got our second best scorer back on track. Like, at least there's something that you can try to build on there. But really, it just penalties. The 6-game stretch compared to the game last night. Like, last night, when the game got away from them, it was all because of penalties. They couldn't stay out of the box. And over the course of that 6-game stretch, they were staying out of the box.
Right.
This team is going to be... Dom says the Bruins played last night. A version of them did. The jerseys were on the ice. But, yeah, we've seen the best of what this team can be.
Are you in a tunnel?
No, why?
You sound like you're in a tunnel.
I can switch my headphones in a minute. See if that helps.
Yeah, you have like feedback and reverb and
Weird. Give me 1 second here. Let me try this. That's why I was wondering how my audio was.
At first you were good, and now I'm like, whoa, no, there's like, yeah, no.
Let's see.
Does that change it at all?
Oh, that's much better. What'd you do?
Perfect. I changed the mic. It must be the mic on this set of headphones. I'll change them in a minute when my AirPods are more charged so that they don't die on me partway through the show. Where was I? Oh, the box. They stayed out of the penalty box. As Dom points out, there was a version that played last night, but it was not the disciplined version. And I think the Jekyll and Hyde of this team has really gotten people to be on one side of the spectrum or completely on the other side based off of some of the other news that came out over the weekend on them almost pulling off a trade for Rasmus Andersson. We can jump into that if you want to, or before we go much further.
First of all, we don't know that they
our-
almost pulled off a trade. There was only rumors, and then they were not substantiated.
What do you mean they weren't substantiated? So far, the Calgary has come out and said Boston was in the mix. Every single reporter has come out to say Boston was in the mix.
Not every single reporter, first of all. But yes, so Calgary said they were in the mix, but that doesn't mean they almost pulled off a trade. There's a difference between saying that they almost pulled off a trade or that they were in conversations. Because one of the things was
They had a deal in place with Calgary as long as they could get an extension done. They were then given permission to talk to the player about an extension. We don't know how close the extension ever got. It doesn't sound like that ever really went too far, but it hinged on that extent. They had a deal in place with Calgary as long as they could get an extension signed. They couldn't get the extension signed, so Calgary then said, you can still have him as a rental player, and Don Sweeney pulled his chips off the table and said, no, I don't want him as a rental. Best move he could have done, don't get me wrong. But
I didn't want him as an extension. I don't know why everyone wanted him.
You need the top four defensemen on your right side. What's the biggest hole on this team right now?
He's not the answer, though.
He is a top four defenseman for your right side. Like, what doesn't he have that you want in a player for your top four on your right side? What is he missing?
I don't know. There was something about the whole thing, and maybe it's the culture that he's missing.
Okay. Let me try and switch over to these, see if this helps.
He doesn't seem like a Bruin. Plain and simple.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I just got you on.
I said he doesn't seem like a Bruin. He doesn't seem like he would buy in to Boston and make this his home.
Well, I mean, obviously, if he didn't end up getting the extension, then that's part of it. He didn't want
right. So, but that's my whole thing. Like, if a player doesn't want to be here, like Brad Stewart was a perfect example. He never wanted to be here when he got traded here for Joe Thornton. Part of that deal with Wayne Primo and Marco Sturm. He never wanted to be here. And it was shown on the ice. So if he didn't want the extension, that means he doesn't want to be in Boston, which means I don't want him in a Bruins uniform.
Which is why I'm glad they didn't pull the trigger on him as a rental. I was never okay with that trade, bringing him in as a rental. If he was okay with signing an extension for, let's say, 4+ years, because that would give him this year and 4 more. All right, that would give you 5 years of Rasmus Andersson on your blue line. If you could get that in this trade, that's the only reason why you're in the conversation.
Was it ever confirmed what they were giving up for him? Or was that all speculated?
The package that I had heard
from
through
who?
numerous sources.
Who?
Through numerous sources. I'm not going to reveal them all.
Are you saying Jimmy Murphy? Because
I'm not revealing who I spoke with. I talked to several people. All right, but Poitras's name had been mentioned, Lorai's name had been mentioned, and a first-round draft pick had been mentioned, but still not confirmed as to which one was on the table. All right, now were all three going? I don't know. Those were the assets that were being discussed. Now, if you look at what Vancouver turned, or not Vancouver, that's a totally different trade. If you look at what Vegas turned over, then that lines up roughly with some of those assets. Now, maybe Calgary was looking for 2 first-rounders instead of 1, but in this case, they're getting 2 better, younger players for their NHL roster in Poitras and Lorai than what you would have gotten from Vegas. Vegas gave up Zach Whitecloud, who's someone they can still flip. But the point being is they get younger players and the draft pick. It's very comparable in some ways. So, again, with the exact package not being matched, it's really hard to say what was it definitively, but those were the assets that were confirmed in the deal. And that's also been confirmed by other media outlets as well, not just through the channels that I heard it from. So obviously they didn't get it to the finish line. They didn't get the extension done. And to what end? Maybe it was just one phone call and the agent said he still doesn't want to sign in Boston, and that holds true. And they said, okay, then we're going to tell him we're not interested anymore. Maybe it only got that far. But the point is we know Sweeney was involved in the conversations. And we know that he was in the mix to try to get that kind of player. And that's a good sign. Let's see. Matrix says, I've been saying Jordan Kyrou for a couple months. Great fit, has term, still young, in the beginning of his prime. As someone to target. Yeah. As Dom said, Friedman said 2027 first and Lorai were part of it. Again, I don't have an exact as this is what exactly the offer was, but those were the pieces that were being mentioned. Now, obviously, the big conversation comes to you have the 4 first-round picks. Are you okay with trading one? How do you feel about that?
I don't want them trading any first-round picks.
Okay, why not?
Because I think they need to build their prospect pool. As Dom said, thank you, Dom, by the way, there's only one AHL forward under contract for next year. He didn't say it here. I saw it on Twitter.
Let's see. Yes, I know next year they don't have a lot under contract, but they also have a lot that are going to be coming up, and it's going to be interesting to see what Evan Gold does down with Providence, because they do have a lot of guys who aren't under contract, but Poitras's an RFA, Riley Duran's an RFA, Lascelles an RFA, Harrison's an RFA, Dalton Bancroft is an RFA. Dalton Bancroft seems like he'd be a Sturm kind of guy. So I can see them keeping him around. Freddie Brunet is an RFA on the blue line. There's going to be a lot of turnover anyway because you have a whole new coach. You're getting players for a whole new system. So the question becomes, what do you do with the guys that you already have? Do you trade some of them? Are you okay with letting some of them walk? I mean, since the last time we were on the air, they also traded Jeff Viel to Anaheim. What'd you think of that deal?
4th rounder, I'm fine with that.
What did you think of moving on from him in the first place?
I didn't have an issue with it because to me, he wasn't cracking this lineup on a regular basis. There were other guys above him that were going to crack the lineup before he did. And it's proven because Easymont's in and out of the lineup because of injuries. Alex Steeves has proved that he belongs in this lineup. Fraser Mitten belongs in the lineup. Husadinov belongs in this lineup. So who is Jeffrey Viel pushing out of the lineup?
Oh, right now, absolutely no one. And you were going to lose him on
waivers. So to
waivers.
move on from him, and to get something for him instead of putting him on waivers and getting him claimed for nothing, I'd rather get a 4th rounder for him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What I would say is a positive takeaway from, again, Sweeney being in those trade conversations is it's clear he's not looking to add to this team. He's looking to add to the roster for the long term. He's not going to look to add, someone who would be a rental, whether it was a Kiefer Sherwood, whether it's Rasmus Andersson without the contract extension. He's looking for people who can help. They'll help now by default because they are good players, but they're going to help in the long term.
But that's how Sweeney has always been. This is nothing new with Sweeney. The exception was the historical year because no one expected them to get bounced from Florida in the first round. That was the exception. Sweeney has always been about bringing in not just for the now, but for the future. He's always been that way.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a few other deals that, most of them on the lower end, but, I agree. I think a lot of people have given him a lot of flack over the years for things that he's done arguably very, very well.
Listen, Sweeney, if they had won a cup, since he's been general manager, they'd still want his head. It doesn't matter. They still would want his head.
Sweeney turned Viel into Viel Parmesan. No, I agree with you. There's always going to be people, and their argument, we talk about it all the time, is still 2015. So don't really give too much. But I have all the
Someone brought up yesterday. Was it yesterday? Was it Robertson, where he was picked in the draft and who the Bruins picked before him? And I'm like, oh my God, stop.
You can always look back at any draft and go, should have. Because now that we've seen them play and finish developing, there's always going to be hindsight with that. But all you can do is make the best pick in the moment. And quite frankly, that's what he's been doing for a couple years now. I mean, and look at the influx of talent that they've had over the last couple seasons, as far as, especially last year, but rebuilding the prospect pool. They decimated it because they were in a win now mode. They're not in a win now mode. So he's able to make more of those moves. And I think, as Dom likes to point out, a lot of people forget that some of your favorite prospects now, like a Vlasic Benar, came to you because you had an extra pick in the 4th round because you moved on for Brandon Carlo.
Mm-hmm.
So Jason asks a question here. If Letourneau finishes strong, do you think they bring him up to Providence or do they keep him in BC? Which actually is a great transition. I don't know if you caught the news before we came on, but Higgins, Letourneau, and Ryan Walsh have all been nominated for the Hobey Baker.
Yeah, I saw it.
So, definitely worth keeping an eye on there to see if any of them stay in the running as the rest of the season plays out. But what are your thoughts on where Letourneau's at right now?
I think it more depends on where, I'm not opposed to players turning pro and going to Providence if it's the right move. I don't know if he wouldn't benefit from another year in BC, seeing how much he developed from last year to this year. But in the same sense, would he get better development in Providence? So it really, I don't know. I get torn when it comes to kids like that because he went from, what league did he come from?
He was in prep high school.
Right. And he literally went from prep to college and he skipped that normal juniors.
Yeah, he was supposed to spend a season in the USHL, but jumped right to BC. So
right. So I'm not sure moving him right away is the best for him, or I don't know. It's hard because I think he could benefit from 3 seasons at BC because it just gets him more of that. I don't know. I think that he needs one more year at BC.
I would favor one more year at BC. Matrix says one more year at BC is his bet. Dom says Letourneau works with the Sens skating coach. She has full regimen of skating work for him in the offseason. She said he's going back to college. Shout out to Court Lalonde. I did hear that from Court as well. I believe the plan is to have him go back to BC. I don't think it would hurt to have him go back to be able to work on his skating. I think last year being his freshman season, which should have been his USHL season, was that of getting adjusted. Obviously, he also had the hand injury, so that helped hinder his point production. This year, he's been able to show, like, I mean, when you really think about it, this should be his freshman season, and he's a point per game player. So if you look at it in that term and you throw away last year and basically just say, great, he learned how the college game is played. It was all a mental season. He gained experience, whatever, and just kind of chalk it up to that and go, this is his freshman season. He's a point per game player. He's getting better at his weaknesses. Bring him back for one more season to the college level. What's he going to do? Dominate the NCAA? Okay. Oh, no, you have a great player playing at Boston College who is then ready at the end of the season, who you can then bring up to Providence at the end of next season.
But that's why, like, I don't even think they should rush Hagens. Like, I would be fine with Hagens returning to BC for another year.
Hagens wanted to go pro this year. And so I think you bring him, I think you turn him pro this year just because you don't want to lose the player in the sense of have him go, well, if you're not going to let me turn pro, then why do I want to sign an ELC with you down the road? Like, you don't want to create any kind of friction there. If he's having a season that allows you to be okay with it turning pro. It's not like you can look at his numbers and look at his play on the ice and go, it's premature. Do I think he should spend some time in Providence? Yeah. I think he'd be helpful for Providence for a little while he can be down there. Where does that leave him for next season? I don't know. I'd rather have him come in. I think what you do with him is you have him do basically the PTO, the ATO to the end of this season, and then have his ELC start next year. Then you have the full 3 years on his ELC, which is usually what ends up happening anyway. I don't think you do anything to burn that season. I mean, if you have to, you do. But, if you can push his ELC to start next season, that's the ideal. And then you just see where he's at, where he's coming in camp. There's going to be a spot where he can play. But if he doesn't make the team out of camp, I don't think you lose sleep over it. Yeah, you should have no issues putting him in Providence. So, Dom says one thing about Rasmus Andersson. When I asked him his thought of the Bruins drafting him in 2015 because he was in their wheelhouse, he said, "I hope not." So, I mean, that was that. Hold on, we just said it though. That's 10 years ago. 10 years plus. Now, that being said, maybe his feelings on it. I mean, he's got teammates that he played with: Elias Lindholm, Nikita Zadorov, and now Victor Arvidsson. He's played with all three of them before, and now they're all in Boston. So maybe it waned a little bit to the point where maybe they thought they could get a deal done. Maybe his thoughts never changed, and it was just a ploy of the agent to leverage them a little bit more for Vegas. Like, who the hell knows? Until someone comes out and writes their book, we're not going to know for sure. But
Matrix, I agree with you. I don't know if you were on when I said, to me, it was obviously a culture thing. He didn't want to be here. I didn't want him.
Again, that's a sentiment that he felt in 2015. It's been 11 years.
If we want to sign an extension, Chris, he doesn't want to be here.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's literally what I've agreed with.
So, right,
but that doesn't mean you don't try.
From 2015, it's obviously not changed, or he would have signed it. He would have agreed to an extension.
Right, and if he agreed to the extension, then I'd want him here. But you're saying you still didn't want him. I
told you that I had a feeling it was a culture thing, that I didn't think he would fit in Boston. And that just solidifies it. for me. That's what
Okay.
I've said all along, is that there are certain players, I don't care how good they are. Austin Matthews is the perfect example. He would never make it in a Bruins uniform. Doesn't matter how good he is, he would never make it in a Bruins uniform.
Then he won't fit in Vegas either.
Austin Matthews?
No, I'm talking Rasmus Andersson. He
Why?
won't fit in Vegas either, because they have a very similar winning attitude down there.
Oh, they're a lot more different. You look at their roster and look on who's on their roster, they're different than Boston. Boston didn't bring in Hart.
No, but they also didn't need to look at him either.
Doesn't matter.
They did bring in Mitchell Miller, though.
Right, and they immediately rectified it.
Because their players spoke out. Absolutely.
Right. That's what I'm saying, though. That's the difference. Boston would never make that mistake again.
I don't
not to make a PR move like that.
They're all looking at those options, whether they want to admit it or not, because that they're looking for the hockey decision of it. They are. Now, then PR gets involved and helps them make a decision on it, and Boston would say no to doing it. But yes, it's two different rooms, but he's still going to have to work and play in a similar winning attitude in Vegas. Otherwise, they'll ship his ass out again. They have no problems doing that.
And maybe that's why he didn't sign an extension. And that's why Vegas is okay with having a rental.
Hey, I'm not paying them that. They paid an extension price for a player who's a rental. I'm fine with them doing that. And if that's what they're okay with doing, fine. If you're a Vegas fan, if you're a Vegas, front office member, you hope you win the cup, and then either way it was worth it, and then you can move on. Whether you sign them to an extension or not becomes irrelevant. You got your cup. That's what you're playing for. So Boston likely isn't getting their cup this year, whether they got them or not. So, at that point, you move on. Let's see. Dom says, I know for a fact they've had talks with St. Louis, which that's been going out there. This is a good question from Jason. After Andersson, who's the next best available top 4 right shot defenseman, which the right shot defenseman market is very, very limited in general. But I do like the idea of Braden Schneider from the Rangers. He would be an awesome fit behind McAvoy, and the Matrix also adds Robert Thomas or Jordan Kyrou. I know you talked about Kyrou before. You're still out on him, I presume.
Out? What do you mean?
On trading for Kyrou?
It depends on the price tag for anyone. It
Fair.
really depends on the price tag. Like,
Fair.
I need to know the price tag because, and again, not only the price tag, but how much term is left. Are they shipping out salary or just taking on more salary? Like, there's so many different factors.
Oh, 100%. Kyrou right now, though, I'm just checking on it. He is signed through 2031 at 8.13, same deal that Robert Thomas has. Let's see. And yeah, Matrix is right here. Robert Thomas would be awesome, but the price tag would be astronomical. 100%. If you put Robert Thomas on your target board, you best be ready to part with James Higgins. That's what I can tell you.
And that price tag is, to me, is a little too steep.
Well, it depends on what else goes in the package, in my opinion, because Robert Thomas is what you hope James Higgins turns out to be at his ceiling. And you get it right away, and you have him signed for another 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons. So in 3 years, if in 3 years James Higgins is what Robert Thomas is now, what's he going to cost you against the cap in 3 years? I'd rather still have Thomas locked up at what he's at right now at the 8.13. You can better work with that. That being said, like I said, what else is going with him? Because you're probably realistically talking about at least one of those first-round draft picks and then something else.
So for me, if you picture it this way, you can move on from Casey Middlestat, right? So you have say you have Robert Thomas. Then you have Higgins as your 2C. Elias Lindholm as your 3C.
Well, no, if you have Robert Thomas, you don't have James Higgins.
No, what I'm saying is, though, but that's what I'm saying. I'm not ready to move on from James Higgins. I want to keep him, get rid of a couple other prospects. Maybe a first, you know what I mean?
You might be able to get rid of Dean Letourneau in the deal instead. But you're not keeping both Letourneau and Higgins if you're trading for Robert Thomas.
Yeah.
Do you think your 2 firsts this year would do it? Probably not, because they're going to want a young prospect who's already been drafted.
Yeah.
And even then,
I don't want the Bruins giving up their 2 first-rounders this year either.
And you still have to send money back because, again, that's 8.3. You currently are only projected to be able to take on 7.5 at the deadline in AAV. So you still need to send another $1 million and change out the door. Who are you sending? Sean Corrali? Like, you don't want to make a massive impact on your top 6 because this top 6 has gotten you to on the verge of a playoff spot. So, and that's why you'd be doing 2 firsts is to not take off of this roster. So, like, there's a lot more to it. He's a pipe dream for sure. And I hope Sweeney's at least having the conversation because as we learned in the Rasmus Andersson conversation, he's at least having the talks. So we know he's doing his job. I'm happy with that. And he's got a line in the sand, and that's fine with me. He's doing it the way he should be doing it. I just don't think you should be afraid to move off of one of those 4 first-round picks. I wouldn't trade 2. I would be willing to trade one of them. And right now, my order of preference would be to trade my first-round pick this year first. Because, well, actually next year's Boston first pick, but even then, I would be looking to deal one of our picks first, simply because you have more control over where that's going to go. Right now, Toronto's behind you in the standings, and you have the tiebreaker. So if your goal is to improve your team going forward, we'll use Rasmus Andersson just as a sake of he has a spot in the lineup. If you brought a player like that in and it improves your team this year, you're in a much better position for qualifying for the playoffs. If you qualify for the playoffs, you're automatically in the back half of the draft with your own pick. If you qualify for the playoffs, chances are Toronto has not, which means their pick is in the top half of the draft. Now, the lottery can have it jump. If let's say they finish right on the cusp at 16th overall, right? They can jump up to 6th, and the pick is still yours. The second that pick jumps to 5th, it's no longer yours unless they opt to give it to you. So having a pick in the first half of the draft from Toronto, whether it's 6 to 16, is better than having your own from 17 to 32. That's why I would rather trade the Boston pick this year first, because you have a better chance with a better player on your roster right now, whether it's that scoring forward, whether it's Robert Thomas, Jordan Kyrou, you name the player, that player, bless you, makes you better this year, your pick is more likely to fall in the back half of the draft. But I wouldn't give up both of them to Jason's question. And obviously, we have a little bit more of an idea of the direction with who was it? We got Steve's getting a contract extension today, and Jonathan Aspero getting one last week. What are your thoughts on those contract extensions?
I'm happy with both of them. I think they both have proved to be what it takes to be a Boston Bruin. Aspero has pretty much played with every defenseman. He's playing better with every game. Not that he was playing bad to begin with. And Steve's, he's impressed me. He came out of nowhere, and I know he has 14 points in 33 games or something like that.
Yeah, his scoring fell off.
But he's responsible.
Yeah, no, he's a great third line player, and he plays very, very well with Fraser Minten. Not that anybody plays poorly with Fraser Minten, let's be honest.
No, so it was a low cat. It's like what, 1.6?
1.63 for the next 2 seasons.
I mean,
it's also made him very tradable too.
I have,
like if you start to downfall,
I don't see anything wrong with either of those moves. And I know it's disheartening to see the comments, oh, get the duck boats ready because Sweeney made those. It's like, that's not like, those aren't the type of deals that are going to put you over the top to win a Stanley Cup, but they are the type of deals that keep your roster intact and serviceable for the near future.
Right. Also, if you improve your roster well enough, and Alex Steeves is your 13th forward next season. That's your worst case scenario for him, is you improve your roster so significantly and he's outperformed so far that he is your 13th forward. Oh no. Did you see Steve Dangle's tweet about the Leafs and Steeves today? I did. Let me see if I still have it. It was on point for what it's worth. And it really does highlight Boston compared to other teams as far as being able to find the talent.
So let me share my screen.
You have it up? There we go. It says, I'm happy for Steves, but this drives me nuts. They scouted and recruited this guy. He plays in your organization for 4 seasons. He plays 247 AHL games and has 216 points. The longest cup of coffee you gave him was 7 games. Now he's a contributor on a divisional rival. Sick. Obviously coming from Steve, that's the Toronto perspective. So, I mean, that shows you what other people think of some of the guys in your system. Because Steves is the first guy. Just imagine what he would have written if it was about Fraser Minten.
Well, and that's the whole thing. Like, Dangles is he may be nuts, but
he knows what he's
talking about, number one. And number two, he doesn't wear blue-colored glasses. You know what I mean? Like, he'll call the team out when the team does something wrong. He'll call out players when, so that's why when you get someone like Steve Dangle saying that, basically saying you gave up on him, and now it's like you said. I mean, yeah, his point production has fallen off, but he's a responsible player. And worst comes to worst, like you said, if you improve your roster that much, he's your 13th forward. He's Mikey Eastman next season.
You know what else it comes down to as well? It's the same question, but this time with an answer that we would be asking about Fabian Lysell. He's not scoring. What else is he doing? Alex Steeves has proven that he can be he can penalty kill if you need him to. He can play defensively if you need him to. He's not making mistakes. He's not turning the puck over nearly as much as other players on the team. They're all going to still turn it over. It's part of the game. But he's not excessively turning it over. And he's not relying on one thing to keep him in the NHL. And that's the concern that people have about Fabian Lysell. If he's not producing, what else is he going to do for you? Well, that's the same question that you would have with David Pastrnak. But what has David Pastrnak proven? He's going to produce for you. His not producing is like 2 games at most. And at best, he's assisting other people. He might not be scoring the goal, but he's going to help other people. So, like, there's still other aspects to a point producer than just producing points, if you can answer that question correctly.
Right.
So, let's see. It looks like Luke Hughes is not going to go for surgery on his, I think it was a separated shoulder, if I remember correctly. So, just got that notification. But, yeah, I mean, it is funny, too, because people often see the Bruins just through their black and yellow glasses. But pay attention, and it's something that Loqual does, too. Pay attention to what other fan bases are saying about the team, about prospects, about their own and about yours. It's tough to do, but if you take off those black and yellow glasses,
Black and gold,
like black and gold, whatever, you know, evaluate each player and what they're worth. That's why Jeffrey Viel got you a 4th-round pick.
I know, and who called you out about that? Was it a Florida Panther fan, or is?
I don't.
But I remember it being like, you think everyone has value. Well, pretty much everyone on the Bruins roster should have value, or they shouldn't be on the roster.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
Well, like, all right, so let's talk about Kolyachonok.
Yes.
The Bruins picked him up from Dallas on waivers. The Bruins put him on waivers to put him in Providence, and Dallas took him back.
Right. Dallas still sees the value in him. Now, the fact that no one else put a claim on him doesn't really mean anything, because you got to go in and look at every single team's defensive structure. What do their depth look like? Because the reason why Boston needed him is because they were going through injury after injury after injury on their blue line. I mean, shit, they're playing Mason Lohrei on the right side. They've gotten so far down. Speaking of prospects, did you see what Cooper Simpson did on the weekend? I think I know what he's talking about, but it's been a long, early week for me, so I don't remember what Dom's talking about. But I do remember seeing Cooper Simpson did something over the weekend.
No. Sorry.
I remember seeing Cooper Simpson in the news, making note of it, thinking we should touch on that on Tuesday, or on Wednesday rather. And then Monday, Tuesday, everything is just, it's been a week. So, but you've got Mason Lohrei playing on the right side. You've got Jonathan Aspero playing on the right side. That's one of the things that I like about his contract. Right now, he is your best. He's your second line right wing, or your second line right shot D. Like he is your 4th defenseman right now. That's how good he's been playing. It's Zadorov, McAvoy, Lindholm, Jonathan Aspero. And whether you like, I still like, multiple things can be true. Yes, I can be okay with trading Mason Lohrei, but I could also say you need to be patient with him. He's not fully developed. Both things can be true.
Well, it's the same thing with Matthew Poitras. Like, I could be okay with trading Matthew Poitras if it's for the right player. If you know what I mean? So I think that's where, unfortunately, as sports fans, and I'm not even talking just Bruins fans, sports fans in general, they find an attachment to certain players, to certain coaches, to certain GMs, whatever, whether it be good, bad, or indifferent. They have certain attachments. And when they have those attachments, it doesn't matter if it benefits the team or the player or the coach. It's the wrong move no matter what, because that's how people feel. Like, there are still people that are upset that Trent Frederick was traded. I'm watching what Freddie's doing in Edmonton, and I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with what's going on with the fact that they let Jake DeBrusk go.
Oh, I was fine with that. I wanted him gone before they let him walk.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, like, there are some people who are going, oh, go trade for him because you need him now. It's like, no. Go look what he's doing in Vancouver.
It's not even that. He was another one that it was not about the spoke bee on his chest. It was about his name being on the back of the jersey. Jake was never a Bruin. He never bought in 100% to the culture that it took to be a Boston Bruin.
No. And back to the thing when multiple things can be true, like Jeffrey Viel, I had mentioned on the show, I was very okay with waiving him if it came to it.
But you also said if you waive him, he's going to get claimed. You were
right. Why do you think...
and people were telling you were nuts about that. I didn't disagree with you. I didn't have an opinion either way. Other than saying that I would have been fine if they waived him, because who else were they going to move to put on waivers? Who were you risking to put on waivers besides Jeffrey Viel? So the fact that Sweeney was able to turn around and get a 4th rounder for it.
Also, the Ducks could have looked at the situation and said, we're not going to trade for him. You've got to put him on waivers. They're 12th in the waiver wire right now, which means they are expecting, they basically said a 4th round pick to jump 11 other teams in the waiver wire will pay that price.
Right.
Because they looked at who's ahead of them in the waiver order, and several teams would have claimed, like I can almost guarantee you Vancouver would have put a claim in on him, because guess what? They were looking to move off of Kiefer Sherwood.
Right.
And Jeffrey Viel is a different line, but he can replace the physicality that Kiefer Sherwood plays with.
Right. And
so, yeah, I could definitely see where that was going to come down the line. St. Louis could have taken him. Calgary could have taken him. Like, there's several teams that could have taken him, even just to shake things up. I'm sure Seattle would have looked at him to try to get more physical in their lineup.
Right.
And guess what? If you waived him and he did get claimed, which clearly he would have, you're still okay, because if you need that body in your lineup, you have Riley Tufte, you have Patrick Brown, the other guys that people bitch about having down in Providence who offer physicality and consistency on your 4th line. Okay. But your first guy off the bench was always going to be Michael Eyssimont anyway.
Correct.
So, this is why also you have a guy like Patrick Brown, because now when you need an emergency call up off, on a wing or on a center position, you're not disrupting other guys in Providence. You can pull Patrick Brown up and then send him down without him playing, and he can miss an entire weekend of games in Providence if you need him to, for a short-term injury replacement on an emergency call-up that he never plays, never skates, and then goes right back down.
Right.
You don't want to do that with Lysell, with Patra, with honestly, you don't really want to do it with a Dalton Bancroft or like with anybody else in that lineup. You don't really want to do it with.
Right.
Now, as we get closer to the end of the season, Boston's going to make a run, either in a positive direction towards a playoff push and maintain, or towards the bottom of the division. And, they're almost to a point where they have to make a decision. Do they want to make that choice on their own or not?
Well, but the thing is, too, is that we have to keep in mind that even if they sell, right? Even if they sell, it's not going to be to the magnitude of it was last year.
I don't think they deal Pavel Zacha.
I said, it's not going to be to the magnitude of last year, because even if they're 2 points out of a wild card spot at the trade deadline, if they sell, it's not going to be to the magnitude of.
No, you're not blowing out 2 alternate captains and your captain.
Right. And they're not also going to buy to the magnitude of 2023.
No, they're not. Pastrnak's not going anywhere. Lindholm's not going anywhere.
And they're not bringing in any players that are a rental.
No, they're not. You have the assets that you didn't have last year, but you only have them because of last year.
Right.
And so, yes, I agree with the sentiment that you need to make your picks and you need to rebuild your prospect pool. But at the same time, your prospects and your picks, you're hoping to become NHL players that you can afford to get now.
Right. No,
and I
100% get that. I 100% get that. And I'm not saying that I don't want them to trade any of their picks. I just don't want them to trade all of their first round picks.
Right. Now, the question that we have that we don't have answers to really is who else is available. I forget who, I think it was Matrix asked the question earlier. Who's the next best available right shot D? Or I'm trying to find where it was. Oh, Jason, sorry. Wanted to credit the right person. Who's the next best available top 4 right shot D after Andersson? Well, we don't really know because there's going to be a lot of teams that are trying to shake some things up. You know,
Right.
for all we know, Columbus is willing to move on from Dante Fabro.
Right.
You know, and maybe you can get him for Patra and a first. Like, okay, is that something that you look at? Well, is it available? You know, like we don't know all of what is going to be available. And I think I really wouldn't be surprised, to be honest with you, if the Rasmus Andersson stuff was coming from more so. I mean, obviously, yeah, Andrew Peeke is. Andrew Peeke, you deal. You trade him away unless you can find your second line right shot defenseman.
Right.
If you can solidify the spot ahead of Andrew Peeke in the lineup, then you can keep Andrew Peeke. Otherwise, you have to move on from him because you don't have the ability to insulate him, and you don't your right side is shit. It is what it is. You go Charlie McAvoy, Jonathan Aspero, then Andrew Peeke on your right side. As far as the depth is concerned, you've got to do something to address it. It's just a matter of what is it that you're looking to do.
Right.
How confident are you in Jonathan Aspero playing on that right side, and Mason Lohrei playing on that right side? Top Shelf Hockey said in a recent video that the Bruins offered Lohrei in a first for Connor Garland. I hope that idiot was wrong. I don't know who you're talking about well enough to call him an idiot or not. So, I mean, I don't think Mason Lohrei and a first are going to be enough to get Connor Garland by themselves. I think you will need to add to that. So maybe they were part of a package, but don't forget, Connor Garland is signed long-term. And, I mean, right now, where are you putting Connor Garland? You got to send somebody out if you're bringing Connor Garland in. Like, and I'm not just talking about Mason Lohrei, because even just Mason Lohrei, the money still doesn't work. So there would have to be more to that. I think what you have to start to look to do is really kind of think about where do you want your lineup to start next season? How do you want it to look at this deadline? You're basically looking towards next season. And how your depth is at that point.
Right.
You know, are you comfortable with Geekie, Lindholm, Pastrnak as your top line again next year? Or do you think that's now officially been shaken up, seeing how Morgan Geekie plays with other players, seeing how David Pastrnak has played with guys like Husnudinov and Fraser Minton and other players?
Well, I think it depends on who you get. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to move on from, like, Casey Middlestat, right? Who are you getting to center that line? Or who are you going to get on the off wing with Zacha down the middle? You know what I mean? So I think that there's, like, again, more than one thing can be true. We realize that Morgan Geekie, David Pastrnak, Marat Husnudinov, and Alex Steves can all play up and down the lineup, right? Yeah. We've proven that. Even Fraser Minton can play up and down the lineup. So it's just a matter of if Sturm is sticking with his pairs. Is he sticking with Zacha and Arvidsson as a pair? Is he moving on from Pastrnak and Geekie and sticking with Pastrnak and Elias Lindholm and now Geeky is with Fraser Minton. Like, what is his mindset? And I don't think that we're gonna know that until they come back from the Olympic break and see how they come back from the Olympic break.
Yeah.
Do they all of a sudden go on a heater like Buffalo went on? Do they all of a sudden implode like they did last year after Four Nations? So I think we have to wait and see. I don't know how.
You're going to have a lot. Sorry, go ahead.
I think it's too early to talk about the roster for next year when we don't even know how much he's going. Because if they 100% implode like they did last year, right? Come out of the Olympic break and they just take a nosedive to where they're last in the conference, never mind the division, then he's going to sell. It's still not going to be, he's not going to sell Pasternak, Geeky, McAvoy, but he's going to sell, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's what I don't think, and I think we need to wait till after the Olympic break to see how much it affects the players that are staying home, like a Mason Lohrei.
Yes.
How much does he get for training and rest during that time? How does it affect Charlie McAvoy, who's going to get that extra time that he missed last year? How does it affect Hampus Lindholm knowing that he's not going to the Olympics? Is he going to get fully healthy? You know what I mean? Like, there's so many question marks on this team that I think it's hard to answer.
There's also another major question mark, too, especially when it comes to the right side on the blue line.
Yep.
We don't know when Henri Jokiharju will rejoin the team.
Right. Or Jordan Harris.
Jordan Harris coming back from injury is probably going to be a little easier to project, though. The other thing with Henri Jokiharju, though, is we don't know how he's going to be when he returns, because if there's one thing that we can take away from what we're witnessing in Ottawa and Linus Ullmark and that whole situation,
I don't want to talk about that.
I'm just saying the one thing we can take away from it, though, is we don't know how long whatever's been going on in Jokiharju's life has been going on.
Right.
And maybe that's affected his play on the ice.
Right.
And so maybe seeing some of these other players like Linus Ullmark, like Rasmus Dahlin, like Leon Draisaitl step away from their team for a little while, maybe that gave him the ability and the confidence to come out to the team and say, I need to go handle something at home.
Right.
And to go do it.
Right.
So when he comes back, how he plays, he might be the defenseman we saw last year that made everybody go, okay, that's not a terrible contract.
Right.
Because we don't know how long this has been going on for. I don't know if you saw the Linus Ullmark interview, but he mentioned
parts of it.
He mentioned that the issues for him go back to the trade.
Yeah.
When he was traded from Boston.
He never wanted to leave Boston. Never wanted to leave Boston. He wanted to he wanted more games. He didn't want to split it with Jeremy Swayman, but he had thought he had done enough to earn the starting position and to earn his spot in Boston. He never wanted to leave, and they tried to move on from him more than once. He vetoed a trade.
Yeah. But my point being is we don't know when this issue for Jokiharju and his family came up.
Right.
And we don't know what it is.
Right.
So I'm not even going to try to speculate on what it is.
No.
But
just like everyone was speculating what was going on with Morgan Geekie, and his wife went into labor. Because people want to know every little thing about professional athletes, about movie stars, about this, about that. And it's frankly no one's business. I don't care that they're public figures. Just because they're a professional athlete does not mean you get to know every little thing about their lives.
There are certain things. I think it's Jeff Merrick has the saying. There are certain things that you can look at and say that's what the money is for. Certain things. But there are other things.
What are you talking about?
What? like when it comes to how they get compensated and paid, like if you go out and you broke your arm, no one would give a shit. All right. You also have the privacy of knowing that your arm is broken and no one cares. All right. But if Morgan Geekie goes out and breaks his arm, people are going to want to know.
That's different.
That's the kind of thing that the money is for.
But how he broke his arm is no one's business.
Right.
He has a broken arm. That's fine. If he broke his arm
it's the team's business.
If he broke his arm during a game, but if he did it in the off season, it's no one's business.
It's the team's business because there are clauses in their contract that some of the activities they can and can't participate.
I'm talking about fans.
Oh no, fans no.
The team absolutely, because the teams have in contracts that certain players are not allowed to ride motorcycles. They're not allowed to. There's certain safety clauses in there.
Absolutely,
100%. So yes, the team, because that is your employer. I'm talking about fans. Linus Ullmark.
No,
I'm
that's
sure
what I mean.
when Linus Ullmark took his leave of absence, he discussed with his GM why he needed a leave of absence.
Oh, absolutely.
The fans had no business knowing why.
That's why the team didn't say anything until they felt they were pushed over the edge and absolutely had to.
Some friggin' idiot.
Well, according to Ullmark, those rumors started the day he left the team.
Because of one idiot. Did you not see the post?
That post that you're talking about, though, that account only existed for that day. It existed for less than 8 hours.
But as soon as you put it out there, idiots are going to believe it and run with it.
Oh, absolutely. But that sentiment of what that account posted had already been floating around Ottawa media for 2.5 weeks. When he left, the day he left the team, that's when that started. It only blew up because that Twitter account made it, put it out there. It caught on, and then the team pushed a statement out, and then it completely blew up. Now, regardless of why it blew up, it is what it is at this point. But let's see. Ian says Ullmark should have said nothing because he doesn't have to answer to anyone. No, but it's also his choice if he wants to. So
I'm sure he was. I'm sure he didn't want his wife dealing with that bullshit.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, I'm sure he and his wife have had many conversations about the whole thing anyway, because she would have known why he was taking the leave of absence more than anyone. Hell, it was probably her idea. Right. Let's see. Shaz says, regardless of how much you pay someone, that doesn't entitle any fan access to personal information. And yeah, no, absolutely. 100%. That's what I mean. There are certain things that you can point to and say, that's what the money's for. There are other things that are off limits regardless. And that's one of them. But again, the whole point, bringing it back to the Bruins, is we don't know how long this situation's been going on for Henri Jokiharju. And maybe it's why he has not been as good as he was last year.
Right.
So we'll have to see. Ian has a question, though. If the cost is reasonable, would the Bruins be interested in Vincent Trocheck? What are the corresponding moves? If the cost is reasonable, well, what's the cost? Where are you looking to play him, and who is he replacing? Because I don't hate the player. In this instance, this isn't someone who I hate the player and I wouldn't want him in my lineup. I absolutely would want him in my lineup, but he's still signed for 3 or 4 more seasons. Reasonable dollar amount.
Right. And the thing is, though, going after someone who's 32 years old, or he's 33, 32, he's in his 30s.
He's 32.
All right, he's in his 30s. So you're going to bring someone in, another aging player. Is it how long is he signed for?
He's got this year and 3 more.
Okay. So you're talking about that you want Higgins to start his entry level next year. So is he a bridge? Like, you know what I mean? And so that's why there's so many different things that come into play.
Right. That's what I mean. Because if you're trading for him, but you tell me that you're also shipping Pavel Zacha somewhere, like, okay, you've broken even to some degree in your current lineup.
But why would you want? But he's not. But I'm not moving on from Pavel Zacha for him.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like, I'm sitting there going, to what end did you pull this move off? Because Zacha also has the connections with the guys that are already here.
Right.
So, like, okay, you did it for 2 more seasons of Vinny Trocheck than you would have of Pavel. Like, to what end is that move being made? That's why I would say, are you interested? Yeah, sure. But, like, all right, for Middlestad and a first, no, I'm not giving up my first for Vincent Trocheck for 3 seasons, 3.5 seasons, because his game, he is the type of player, his game is on the decline. Like, you bring him in for the intangibles that he brings and the leadership that he can bring, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But all things compared, I'm not dealing that first. If Middlestad's going the other direction, I'm fine. But what are you trying to tell me? Your second line is going to be what? Zacha, Trocheck, Steve's Geeky, somewhere in that line? Like,
did you forget Arvidsson?
Well, I know a lot of people want to deal Arvidsson too, so that's where I'm not sure. Would it be Arvidsson? Like, you know, and why is New York taking Casey Middlestad?
Right.
Like, explain that one to me.
Well, I mean, they're not re-signing Panarin, so.
Yeah, because they're the same player. What?
That'll be the mindset.
Like,
tell me I'm not wrong.
I know. It just.
Listen, no one said people were smart.
I know. And this isn't a jab at Ian. I know. I just. Ian,
No. And that wasn't a jab at Ian either. That was more just me being.
My question is to Ian: Why would they? Oh, because they're dumpster fire. I mean,
that's an accurate statement. The only good thing they have going for them right now is Mike Sullivan being on the bench.
And how long until he wants out? Because this isn't what he signed up for.
Not a good GM.
No, and how long until Sullivan wants out? Because this isn't what he signed up for. If I'm Mike Sullivan, I'm pissed.
Well,
like, it's just not what you signed up for. And Chris Drury has not done many good things there. I'll leave it there. He's done more bad than good. This downfall of the Rangers started the second he forced Barclay Goodrow to the San Jose Sharks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been circling the drain ever since.
Karma.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be interesting, too, because they've already said that basically no one without trade protection is on the move or is available, but yet the players that people want are the ones they don't want to get rid of.
Right.
Like, or would have an astronomical price point. Like, how interested would you be in Alexis Lafreniere? Not overly.
No.
Not for the price they're going to ask people to pay for him. Will Cooley, we can have a conversation about him, but you know what I mean? Like, to what end? I'm not sure.
Right.
So, what's your thoughts on Utah Nick Schmaltz from David? Like the player, I don't think we have a shot at getting him, because why would Utah move on from him? And you can't even say, because they're a disaster of an organization. They're not in Arizona anymore. They're straight up in contention at this point. Like, let me see where they are right now in the standings. I know they're out of a playoff spot. They're 4th in the Central. Where are they in the wild card? I know they're in the race. Yeah, they are. Oh, no, they have one of the wild card spots. It's them in San Jose. Why would they trade him? right now Utah is waiting to get healthy. They have Logan Cooley hurt.
Isn't it funny that you can actually say San Jose?
I know, right? And of course they go out and deal for Kiefer Sherwood. Love that deal for them. That's a great deal for them. Give up a couple of second-round picks and bring in that kind of player.
Well, and that's the type of team that needs a player like that.
Oh, yeah, and guess what? They can overpay to keep him, too. Like, I mean, think about it. He's going to go in from the environment that's the dumpster fire in Vancouver to the positivity that is the kids in San Jose. You don't think he's going to go, yeah, I could play with these kids for a while longer. Let me sign 4 or 5 years.
Right.
Like, he's got no reason not to. And then they have so much cap space, they can say, we'll pay you more than anybody else. Not by a lot, but by enough to keep you here. What do you want? So, you know, it's a good fit for both sides. It'll be interesting to see how they utilize him in their lineup.
Right.
Just because, you know, I mean, he's the kind of guy that can play up, but he can bring the physicality of a third line. So, you know, do they put him next to? Oh, and by the way, they're getting Michael Misa back. You know, he was out for a while. I forget what tournament he was off in, but he was off at juniors for a while too. But now you go Graf, Eklund, Sherwood on the left side. Oh, and Barclay Goudreau on the left side. That's pretty decent left wing depth right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then Celebrini, Wenberg, and Misa down the middle. Like, and they still have Dellandrea, who's injured. Their blue line is turning into solid. It's going to be interesting to see how Greer flirts with the line of buying and selling.
Right.
Because they have nobody on their blue line pretty much for next year. Some of them are RFAs, like Muka Madulin is an RFA, but you're not trading their RFAs. And then they've got, I think Dmitry Orlov is the only one who has contract for next year. Most of the other ones, like Liljegren, he's a UFA. Ferraro is a UFA. Klingberg is a UFA. I believe Desharnais is a UFA. So, like, that's the type of team that I would look at and be like, can we get a right shot defenseman who might be able to help us for a low-cost price of one of our prospects? Again, I'm not trying to pound the table to say Timothy Liljegren is the greatest thing since sliced bread, but if he can help your depth on the right side, is it worth a prospect who isn't going to go very far in your organization, or a mid-round pick, something that they might be able to flip to get an RFA, or you know what I mean, like something along those lines, because he's going to look to flirt with the same line that you're looking for, that buying and selling line. So anyway, what did you think of the Zdeno Chara retirement ceremony? We didn't even touch on that one yet.
I thought it was phenomenal. I will tell you, the only thing that pissed me off, downright changed every ounce of, not respect, that's a strong word, but I cannot believe that Brad Marchand wasn't there.
What was the day they did the game?
It was the day he was in Washington at the White House. They didn't have a game. The team flew to Washington, then went to Carolina for the game. He could have gone to Boston, done the ceremony, and met his teammates in Carolina. He should have been there. He should have been one of the players carrying that 33 out. Sorry.
Did that not feel like they were carrying out a casket, though?
No,
when
not
they
at all.
carried the number out?
Not at all.
It seemed,
but having the
it seemed
players
to me like they were eulogizing
having the players
the
that
guy.
they did, Tuukka deserved to be there. Bergeron obviously deserved to be there. Krejci, Mark Recchi, Dennis Seidenberg, Brad Marchand should have been there with them. Because I'll tell you right now, when Patrice Bergeron's number goes up, because his is next, when his number goes up, if Brad Marchand's not there, he will be raked over the coals by every single Bruins fan. I'm sorry. Yeah. There's no excuse for it. He's not even American. He's Canadian. He didn't need to be there. He should have been at Chara's ceremony.
Maybe that tells you why they moved on from him.
Well, he never should have been captain, so.
But I don't know. It felt to me often at times during that they were talking about him like he had died.
I disagree with you.
That's just how it came off.
I thought that Andrew Ference did a phenomenal job.
Oh, I think he did a great job. It just at times it felt like the tone, not necessarily from Ference, but the tone of the ceremony, like the way they carried out the 33, like all that stuff. It felt like they were eulogizing him and whatnot, and it just like it was a good ceremony. It wasn't. I don't know. It felt a little
with you about carrying the number out, because carrying the number out, they all had smiles on their faces. Everyone was cheering because of who it was. That didn't seem like a funeral procession to me. That seemed like his teammates honoring him. And yes, James, but you know what? That is not a team event. There are many, many, many players that have skipped the White House visit throughout history.
And also,
Thomas skipped when the Bruins won.
But it's also one of those things too, where you can look at this and say, like, if the team said everybody's going, we don't want to make a political statement, blah blah blah, whatever. Well, he has a reason to have gone that has nothing that completely overtakes that by going, I was there for whatever it was, 17 seasons with the guy. I want to do this instead. And it's not, and then politics stays out of the conversation.
Right.
It's not like it's not like he was skipping to go play in the park. You know what I mean? Like, and this is also the organization that let him go and coach a charity game for a friend of his that passed away.
And they were playing in Carolina. It wasn't like he needed to fly out to Vancouver or Edmonton. It would have been a 2-hour flight to Carolina.
Right.
Or
someone could have brought
whatever it is. So
from Florida to Boston would have been same day flight.
Right.
Like, and then the next morning there could
stay for the game. He didn't need to. He just needed to be there for the ceremony. Shit, they got Claude Julien to do a video.
Yeah, and I think they were coaching somewhere. I think the Blues were playing somewhere.
But it just, that to me, that was the one thing that really,
Overall, I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying at times it felt a little off in that regard to me. But, I do agree. I think Brad Marchand should have found a way to try to be there, especially because he'll find a way to be there for Bergeron.
He better.
Like, honestly, do it on a day when the Panthers are in town. Then he has no choice but to be there. Make him go back to that bench after.
Yeah.
It
also depends on how quickly the Bruins turn around and do Bergeron's ceremony. He could be retired.
Could be, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised though if depending on how they do at this trade deadline, that might tell us when they look at doing Bergeron's number, because I think they definitely threw the fans a bone this year by announcing Chara when they did, so that fans knew they had it to look forward to.
I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree. I think it coincided with them bringing him on as an official member of the front office.
Maybe that had something to do with it.
Kind of like when he signed here and became captain. It was kind of we're going to bring you on as officially as an employee. And, oh, by the way, we're retiring your number at the same time. It was all about Chara this year, but I don't think it had anything to do with we're gonna appease fans by raising Chara's number to the rafters. It was
no. I think it helped. I think it helped knowing that they might be in for another rough season, but not the end of the world, and not the sole reason. Let's see. I think it's 5 years post retirement that they're able to. No, they can retire a number whenever they want.
Yeah, it's not the Hall of Fame.
Do you have anything else? Am I missing anything from this week? These last 2 weeks?
I don't think so.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We'll let. I don't want to keep cutting us off well after 8. So, with that, the last thing I want, that would be the Hockey Hall of Fame. You said that next week there's one more Fleet game that you got to catch.
Yes, so I will not
be on next week.
We won't be on next week because it's the last Fleet game before the Olympic break. So
if we're able to do a different day, we'll let everyone know. In the meantime, though, we want to thank you all for tuning in. Let's see, didn't think about it till now, but to boost on Gayle's points from earlier, I know we won't do a Miller situation again, Chara is there now. So, yeah, Chara definitely won't let that happen again.
No,
like I said,
neither. Yeah, and I mean, I think that Sweeney also has learned from that debacle.
Oh, for sure.
And I think that's part of the reason why Chara was officially brought on, was to help get that culture back, because it was lacking last year. And again, that had a lot to do with who the captain was. Sorry.
Yep.
I wanted to believe that he learned from Chara and from Bergeron.
He learned some, but not enough.
Not enough to own the locker room. He was good as an alternate, but he just was not captain material. I'm sorry.
Nope. But we've been saying that all along.
To back me up on this.
No, it's fine. We've been saying it all along. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in. And we will let you know about next week if there's a different day that works. In the meantime, Gills, there you go. There are your hearts.
I don't know. We got balloons going earlier, and I don't know how I did that.
With that, I don't know. We'll have to figure out what all the cues are at some point.
Halo.
So, with that, though, thanks everyone for tuning in, and go